Thank you, sir, for talking to us today. I'm Anupya. I'm from West Bengal. You've spoken a lot about big data, a lot about digitization. Often, data-backed companies use customer satisfaction scores or net promoter scores. So, outside of polls, what are the real-time feedback indicators that governments can and do use to understand their success with the voter?
Yeah, I was surprised when I came to government, right? I assumed it was better than it really is. So both in terms of, forget about feedback. Outward communication, both outward communication and then you have to get feedback. Both of these were practically non-existent. So, just running front page ads in the Hindu and in TVs and all is not communication. Or put another way, compared to what we did as a political party for the election campaign, not even 5% of that the government was doing. So just based on my experience and my kind of professional experience in that 5 years, I also set up and run at my leader's request or command the IT wing for the DMK. So whatever we had figured out how to do there, I'm now trying to bring some of that to the government of Tamil Nadu. But it's very hard to, governments have a different mindset, a different kind of cultural environment. So, at least in the early days, we'll end up doing a lot of outsourcing with vendors and so forth, which is easy. Governments have a lot of money. But eventually, these are, nowadays there are a lot of tools, so you can get actually like a very quick feedback from have you heard of the scheme to what do you think of its benefits to do you personally benefit. We can do multiple levels of assessment, which will start soon.
Thank you.
I don't know how to pick. Dominic and Arpita, can you decide and tell me who wants to go? Thank you, Ram. Arpita.
Hello, sir. My name is Arpita Bhatta and I'm from Assam, currently working as the National Coordinator of NSUI. So, sir, I wanted to ask you about that we see a sort of shift in the narrative of politics in some of these states in India where elections are becoming highly polarized, or the entire definition of development does not include inclusive at all. And at the same time, we have a state like Tamil Nadu which has high GDP growth and is also doing well in the welfare front. It's doing well for the people as well. So how do you think can these other states sort of replicate this model, or do you think that an understanding of the Dravidian principles on a pan-India level will sort of help shape a politics or shape a narrative that includes inclusive growth or inclusive development, a mixture of both, like social and economic?
Yeah, the Dravidian movement happens to be something that I am very well read up on and many people in Tamil Nadu have experienced. But in its, at its foundation is not that different from many of the kind of values and principles you see around the world. For example, if you look at Scandinavian countries, right, one of their stated goals is to keep the Gini coefficient low, is to very high tax the very rich and very, very give fantastic benefits to everybody at the bottom of the pyramid, right? Like I think the average benefits in Sweden are like 1 year of maternity and or paternity leave, free health, free education, practically everything free, right? Because they get that much in taxation. So, or if you take a place like Singapore or Australia or New Zealand, where the minimum wage is like $20 an hour in Australia, because they want to provide, the state should provide a quality of life for everybody. So, this notion of inclusive growth, as we call it now, social justice as we called it back 100 years ago, increasingly the phrase social justice is creeping into the American lexicon. I lived there for 20 years, I never heard the phrase at all. In the last 5-7 years, we started hearing about social justice. And it's not that they had they had to fight racism, they had the whole civil rights movement. But the phrase social justice was not in the parlance of everyday America, at least the 20 years I lived there. So there's some commonality. My own theory is that governing and really achieving good outcomes at the people edge is so hard and requires such thoughtfulness and so much professionalism and so much diligence and effort that it's a lot easier to sell this notion of if not me, who, or the other guy is worse than I am, or start kind of sloganeering and brand them as anti-national or somehow unfit for office or unfit for election. So, and this is not the India problem, right? This is Turkey, Donald Trump, Erdogan, Turkey, far right in Europe, Boris Johnson in UK. This is I'm the only true patriot. Everybody else is against the values of the country. And if not me, the country has gone to the dogs. And therefore, it doesn't matter whether I deliver or not. It doesn't matter whether I follow the rules or not. It doesn't matter if your life is improved or not. Heaven forbid it should be anybody other than me. You're going down a black hole. That seems to work, right? At some level, people vote with their hearts, not with their head. And at some other level, it's very hard to blame politicians in toto, right? Whenever I go, I say, politicians come from society. We get elected. It's not as if there was a military coup or we got imported from some other country. So if politicians don't show well, it's because society has deep flaws, and that reflects in the politicians. But I think what I said to my leader back in, I'll just give you 3 statistical points. Or 3 points in time. Back in 2019, after the election and before the counting, I told my leader, my assessment is we'll win this election with 8 or 9% vote margin. If we do that, we'll get 80-85% of the seats, because you know what happened. We lost by 1% in 2016, and that translated to 2/3, 1/3, outcome in seats because of the first past the post system. And if we don't do that, that means that our opponents will have succeeded in turning this election into a referendum of our alleged character, because they don't have anything to show in terms of outcome. So if people vote based on is their life better or not, and are the schemes good or not, and are they getting benefits or not, and are their children getting jobs or not, we'll easily win, no problem, because they have been in power now for 7 years. They can't blame it on us. If we don't win by 8%, I'm not even saying that we lose. I'm saying if we don't get a minimum of 8%, that means that the opponents have changed the election to be about us and our character and our lack of fit or whatever, this kind of othering, whataboutery. In the end, the results came 22.6% in our favor. So that is that I had overestimated their vote by about 7% and underestimated our vote by about 7%. So 8 plus 7 plus 7, we were like 22.6%. Within like 36 hours, I did the analysis. I went and told my leader, I said, if we had got less than 8%, I told you the selection would have been about us and not them. Now I'm telling you this election was only about them. We were the only alternative. But the vote was against them. The people were angry. The people wanted them gone. And that's basically what happened. This vote was only about them. Now, right after the election, we started preparing for 21. I said, listen, I am sanguine. We are going to win 21. There's no way we can blow sitting in opposition, both here and in Delhi. We cannot blow a 22.6% lead in 2 years. So we're going to win 21. My concern is with what margin and how are we going to govern? We better start setting up all the governance, because these guys are going to dig a huge hole and leave us in this hole before we come to power. Right? Fast forward 2021, we won by only about 7 or 8%. We didn't win, after all the things that happened after 19 and, the economy went south, COVID, a lot of anti-Tamil people's sentiment, things like CAA and, other intrusions into our right, national education policy, and we still only won by 8%. So the issues became very much more local and not about character, right? It became more about outcome, because it was one Dravidian party against another in theory. Now we're back at that situation where, what I say to my leader is that the real opportunity we have is, I'm not worried about 24. I'm very sanguine. We will win, if not 40, then 39 of the 40 MP seats in 24. I'll give you in writing. In my state, no problem. But that doesn't mean anything. There are 540 seats. We could win all the southern states and end up being a minority. So really for us, I said, the key is that we should elevate this debate to the national level. And we should say that you can have a government that actually can perform, can provide jobs, can improve the quality of your life, can get you greater nutrition, can, be compassionate, considerate. You don't have to just worry about voting from your heart about, okay, my life is not good, but at least they're fighting Pakistan. It doesn't have to be about those things. It can be about, I want my children to have a better life than me. And there is a hope. Because what happens is that when you lose hope, and people are very smart, if you are just another con man, they say, one crook or another crook, what does it matter? The words change, the outcome is the same. So you have to deliver outcomes. And then you have to make this statement that says, you too should expect such good outcomes. Your vote should not be just about, if not X, then who, or, the known devil is better than the unknown devil. This kind of thing. You have to change the debate. So, Dravidian or not, I have bias, so I'm not going to say, but I'm saying this notion of vote with hope rather than vote out of frustration or fear. That debate, I think, certainly we are keen that should go to a national level rather than the other.